Principle 2 is dyads or power chords. Now, I'm going to do our harmonizing of the major scale over 5 phases, or the next 5 principles. And I wanted to start with the simplest of chords that we can create. Now, obviously, a chord is 2 notes or more, and a dyad means 2, all right? So remember that. Di means 2. So a 2-note chord built on the scale of G major, okay? Now, what we do to build our 2-note chord or a power chord is that we take the root note and the 5th note above that root note from any given point within the scale. Obviously, we're going to start with G. Now, we're going to do this in position on the guitar, so it's easy to follow at this point on the guitar, and then I'm going to move that linear up the guitar as well so you can see it in different positions. And of course, I'm going to give you a full vocabulary of these power chords as well in another section. So don't worry about that. I'm not showing you enough of these chord shapes. We're going to get to that. Okay, so let's go to the guitar. And obviously, we're going to start with the note G. Let's qualify the root note and the 5th to create our first chord, our 2-note chord. So G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we have G and the 5th note above that. Okay, now that gives us a very strong sounding chord, which is neither major or minor. Okay, so remember that a power chord doesn't designate whether it's a quality of major or minor. All it gives you is a nice strong sound. Very stable. Okay, so let's create the next chord. Now we're going to go to the 2nd note of our scale, which is A, and we're going to go up 5 tones from A, B, C, D, E. Okay, there's the note. Now that's not an easy place to play that on the guitar, so we're going to move the E to here, all right? So we've got our, now we have our 2nd power chord, dyad, which is an A5 chord, G5, A5. Let's create the 3rd one. We've got our B tone, we're going to go up 5 tones, right? Now we can play that one in position with a 5th string root. So we've got a B and an F sharp note. So far. Okay, now let's move up to the next note of the scale, C. 5 tones. There's G, all right? So C to G is 5 tones up. And they're all the same shape, you can see that too, all right? So there's no confusion there. And if you remember that's a 5th shape, that would be another way of you knowing your shapes on the fretboard and locating them too. So we've got G5, A5, B5, C5. Let's go to D. D, 5 tones above, D, E, F sharp, G, A. And again, let's move that to here. There's our A tone, and here's our D. All right. Now you can use your 3rd finger or the 4th finger, whatever's more comfortable for you. G, A, D, C, D5. Okay, now let's move up to the next tone, E. 5 tones above E, E, F sharp, G, A, B. We can play that in position here, all right? So we've got G, A, B, C, D, E5. Now here's where things change a little bit. When we count up 5 tones from the F sharp, we don't actually get a perfect 5th like our other 5ths, all right? We get F sharp, G, A, B, C. Now C is our 5th from F sharp, but look at the distance in pitch that we have, all right? It's not a solid 5th shape, it's a flattened 5th shape that we're given from the tones of the scale. And it's a very dissonant sound. Of course, sounds great in hard rock too, but it's not a power chord, all right? A power chord is a root and a perfect 5th. This has a diminished 5th and is going to sound dissonant. So let's hear all of those chords, those 5 chords. Hear that one being dissonant, and then back up to G. Okay, so you hear how that works and how we harmonize the scale now to create 2-note chords, which are dyads, and power chords. Now, a dyad could also be another type of chord, but this is the simplest form of that without getting too complex into other harmony. So here we have the G major scale and its 2-note chords, the power chords built from those scale tones. Now, your assignment is to look at the fretboard, figure out where you can find these 5 chords in other places on the fretboard. And of course, I'm going to give you those in vocabulary as well. So you're going to have all the diagrams as well. But go to your guitar, go to the charts, reference those things and understand where those notes come from, play them a little bit. And I've also given you some great tracks that you can play to, all right? I've given you bass and drum tracks, and I've also given you a really cool power chord track that you can jam to as well. And I'll be showing you that in the vocabulary. Very cool. Let's move on to the next section.